Over the last few weeks, I've gotten a ton of messages in my DMs and a ton of comments here on the channel of people talking about and questioning the fact that they just didn't get in on Solana before this pump happened, right? Maybe they had been subscribed to our channel, they've seen our videos for the last 2 years straight, but they didn't have the conviction that we had. They didn't have the belief that we had, so they didn't get in when we did. Now, as a result of Solana now climbing over $100 to $115 to $120, a lot of those same people are questioning, God dang it, what did I do? Why didn't I get in? Well, what can I do now? What are some cryptos that I can buy now that could produce some similar gains and go on a similar run? And so what I want to do in today's video is give you a couple things that I'm personally looking at that I think has some potential to make a run for it, just like Solana did, and just tell you a little bit about my reasoning and what I'm going to be doing as a result of it. So with that said, let's not waste any more time at all, and let's get straight into the video. And by the way, stop running from the holiday robe. It's not going anywhere. Okay, so in today's video, okay, let's kind of break down what we're going to go over. Now, I'm not going to dive into microcaps today. I hope you're not here for degeneracy. I'm not really going to dive into anything that is extremely small. We're really going to focus on some of your layer ones that are within that top 25 to top 20. Okay, now the reason being is because if you're looking for a Solana type run, I think the L1s that we're seeing in the top 20 to 25 have the best chance of doing that right now with the most minimal risk. Okay, obviously a meme coin can go up 100x right now, but it also comes with 100 times more risk, right? Whereas whenever you're looking at some of these more top altcoins, I think they're kind of repeating / replicating what Solana did, which obviously could put them in a beautiful position to make a run like Solana did. Now, do I think that any of them are going to go as crazy? Probably not, but there is, again, a ton of opportunity for them to do similar moves. Now, why L1s, right? Tyler, why L1s? Why layer ones, okay? Well, the easiest way to explain it is that whenever markets start, which I believe, again, we're at the beginning of a bull market, the more euphoric side of a bull market, I actually do believe the bull market has been going on for a year now. If you just look at your macro charts, it's been a year now. But there's two phases of a bull market. There's the, oh, no one believes this is a bull market part, and then there's the straight euphoria phase of a bull market. And I think we're just starting to get towards that second half of this thing, right? Which could last another year and a half, but still, anyway. Whenever you're going into this phase of the bull market, your money and your funds are typically going to trickle in a very predictable cyclical way. Okay, they're gonna go, as we mentioned before a ton of times on the channel, Bitcoin usually is first, right? Then into some of your top altcoins, the ones that have the biggest ecosystems, the one that have been around the longest. Then they go to your layer ones. Then they start to trickle down into some of your more developed micro caps. And then they're gonna go into some of your pre-sales, meme coins, etc. Blah blah blah. Now, the reason that I'm under the belief that the L1s are the place to be right now is because, generally speaking, in the beginning of bull markets, we find out who the bull market movers are rather early on, right? You're going to see a few of them just take off in the beginning of the bull market, and oftentimes that momentum does continue as they build their own narrative throughout the bull market. Now, not only that, though, if it is an L1, obviously it's likely open to smart contracts and dApps and things like that, and as they do catch momentum, typically people are going to try to capitalize on that momentum by building projects, building platforms and development and meme coins and all types of shit on that L1 itself, on chain. And of course that keeps a lot of the momentum on chain, which sets it up to do well throughout the bull market. Okay, that's just generally what happens. And so because of that, I'm looking for those ones right now that are doing extremely well, that have the opportunity to do well, that are following similar price structure to Solana, because if that momentum shifts their way, again, you could see that 3x, 4x, 5x, which is clearly what we want. Now, let me give you a couple examples, and of course let me drop a little bit of alpha along the way. Now, a couple examples of these starts, in my opinion, here with ADA Cardano. Now, I know, I don't need you making fun of me in the comment sections. It's not my fault it does well, okay? But ADA Cardano is a good example of one, right? The reason ADA Cardano is a good example of one is because of a few reasons. One, obviously, it is a platform, it is a chain that has been around, for an extremely long time. I mean, we're talking 4 to 5 years now. And because of that, clearly they have withstanded the test of time and they are doing extremely well. Now, not only that, though, they did just break out of some macro structure. You can see they had this descending channel like we saw on Solana, right? I mean, let's reference Solana for these, right? Again, as I mentioned before, Solana, descending channel, broke out of the descending channel, broke out of macro structure, broke a key level of macro resistance, went on a macro run. Okay, just so you know what Solana did. Now, looking at ADA Cardano, boom, was in this descending macro structure. Okay, now it broke this macro resistance. Okay, boom, now it's at the next macro resistance. If it breaks this macro resistance right here around 68 cents, I do see this thing running back up towards $1. I see that happening. People aren't going to like it. They're going to make fun of it, but that's the truth. Okay, now not only that though, obviously we have seen some meme coins launching on the Cardano ecosystem recently. Think of Snack, for example, which obviously has took off over the last few weeks, cooled down a little bit now, but it's just good to see that there's more development on chain and we're seeing some of those meme coins popping up and popping off, because it shows shows that momentum shifting towards Ada Cardano's ecosystem, in my opinion, which could impact the price positively. So Ada Cardano is a very good example, again, especially if it clears 68 cents. So I'm going to make a call on that right now and say if it breaks 68 cents, I'm going long. We're just going to see what happens. Okay. Another good example of this is one you've probably not heard of in a while, or we've not talked about in a while, and that is DOT. Okay. DOT's in a very similar macro perspective. Descending channel, broke key resistance number 1 at key resistance number 2, right around that $10 level. If it breaks this, I do believe it's making a run towards $22. People might not like it, but that's the truth. Now, in HG Access, which we're stay tuned over the next 24 hours, the video's coming out soon here about how you can get access to this thing. Okay. We actually made a post just talking about, hey, over the last 2 weeks, our entire ecosystem of creators has received messages from outbound agents that represent DAOs on the Polkadot ecosystem. They have been reaching out regarding Polkadot beginning to implement marketing using funds from the treasury in order to begin getting DOT on the front page media again. Okay. This is not sponsored, by the way. But with this in mind, obviously, this is a huge sign. This is a very good sign. And, knowing that we're starting to see a lot of the funds in the treasury, which is millions and millions of dollars being allocated towards marketing, I could see them bringing on a lot of developers, people building on their ecosystem, bringing momentum and volume to the ecosystem while positively impacting the price of DOT as well. Okay. And so obviously that type of information you can't really access without having back end access, clearly, right? You have to be able to get in on the back end. But good thing for you, obviously, is HG Access is launching this week, which is going to change the way that you receive alpha and information in the world of crypto. So you stay tuned. But with that in mind, DOT is another amazing example, right? I think this is one that, especially as they continue to use the funds for marketing, as they continue to get their name out there again, based off of price structure, considering how similar this one is alone to what we saw from Solana back here, right? I definitely, again, believe that this could be a winner, and that's one of the ones I'm going with. Now, I'm actually going to move to one of the more quote-unquote risky ones here, and that is actually Phantom. Now, if you're remembering back towards the end of 2021, that thing was just going nuts, right? End of 2021, when it put in its all-time high, we saw Phantom's ecosystem absolutely popping off. Its price had got up to about $3.30, which was nuts. The thing was flying, okay? But what ended up happening, of course, it was its first real bull market, so its first bear market was obviously pretty destructive. It didn't do quite well. Obviously, its price pulled back quite a ton because people just didn't know if it would fare well. They didn't know if the ecosystem would do well throughout a bear market, etc. But the fact that Phantom continued to develop, the fact that they continue to build and grow their community as the bear market did continue does show, right? And clearly, whenever we look at this from a more technical perspective, you can see obviously this key level of support around 16 cents was held on 3 occasions. And I do believe now that as long as we're above 16 cents, I mean, this thing easily could be rallying back towards $1.50 pretty soon here. You can see this macro double bottom being placed right here. Boom, boom, boom. And so clearly, once we do break 66 cents, once this level's broken, I mean, the sky is blue. From a technical perspective, that does give us a breakout target of roughly, let's go ahead and call it $2.89. The breakout target does put you right back at its all-time high. I genuinely believe Phantom is going to hit a new all-time high in the next bull market. And so it's clearly one of those winners in which they have the development, they have a decent TVL, they have decent development happening on chain right now, and they are continuously growing their opportunities. And so, of course, because of that, with the price doing well right now, with the fact that it is approaching a macro breakout, again, I believe this is one of those ones that easily could 6-7x from here, maybe even 8 to 10x. And so clearly it's one of the ones that I'm picking as well. And then lastly, obviously, one of the main ones that I'm a huge fan of that I think people kind of forgot about over the last few months is actually Polygon Matic. Now, I know we have seen some issues recently. That's not necessarily Polygon's fault, but things like Telcoin, right, which is somewhat associated with Polygon, whatever. That's, a little bit of a stain, but I don't think it matters at all, honestly. But what we can see here is that I don't really need to explain Matic too much. I don't need to explain the Polygon network. We all know how big they are, the partnerships they have, the development they have on chain, all that good stuff, right? But from a more technical perspective, what you can see is that over the bear market, this thing has done exceptionally well, and it has put in this rather consistent level of consolidation in which we're putting in these lower highs and higher lows kind of going into this channel, and I do believe that we should get the breakout of this pretty soon. I would be shocked if it's a breakout to the downside. So considering I am under the belief that this is going to break towards the upside, I have actually started to accumulate a little bit more Matic recently. And once this breakout does happen, I mean, it opens up the door for $2, $3 towards the upside, which clearly would be amazing. I would say for sure we should see Matic get back up to $1.54 to at least retest its previous level of liquidity, which is right around a 2x from here. Okay, so with that in mind, obviously you can see like this weekly or daily, chart prime oscillator is resetting towards the bottom side, doing extremely well, opening these doors of opportunity. Again, I see Matic possibly being one of those ones that pops out of nowhere, gets that breakout that people just aren't expecting. You look at this from a more zoomed in perspective, there is even the possibility of this being some type of either inverse head and structures or cup and handle pattern, right? We can see this forming here. And so clearly, if this is the case and we see Matic's price able to break 90 cents to the upside, I mean, who's to say that this thing doesn't get the breakout towards $1.74, which again, as I mentioned before, is a move of about 90% from here. So Matic's another beautiful example of ones that I'm looking for, in which we are, of course, seeing development happening on chain. Now, obviously, the last one that I can mention is one that is doing well today is BNB, right? I would say BNB's obviously been struggling just from a more fundamental perspective and just kind of seeing what all is happening with Binance. But I do believe that from an on-chain perspective, it is still one of the strongest, if not the strongest example of one that allows, you know, on-chain development, especially in terms of projects, platforms, and things of that nature. Most of your meme coins are BSC coins, whether people like it or not. That's the truth. And we are seeing a breakout happening from BNB right now, which is this did trigger me to start buying. I actually did pick up another bag of BNB today. Now, I would say the main thing that we need to look for is obviously $330 to $340. This key level of liquidity in terms of support, in terms of resistance, is going to be the real test. But that thing does usually act as some type of magnet. And clearly, whenever you have a breakout of this nature, in which we had this very obvious inverse head and shoulders pattern, right? Beautiful inverse head and shoulders pattern, which does give us a breakout target right back up towards $330 to $340. I do believe we're going to get pulled in that direction. So that does mean that BNB likely could continue up another 16 to 20%. And then if we are capable of breaking 340, I don't see a reason as to why BNB can't retest $500 in the next market. But of course, there are a lot of external factors that are affecting BNB's price, not just on-chain factors, okay? But it's another good example, right? I mean, you look at this, it looks just like Matic's chart did. Obviously, this thing is in a beautiful position in which it could see amazing price growth rather soon. So of course we want to be a part of that. So I hope you're kind of getting an idea of what I'm saying here, right? Is that it's not too late for L1s. It's not too late for a Matic or a ADA or a DOT or a Phantom or a BNB. I think this is actually just the beginning. And although we might cool down, we might slow down going into the new year, I think that in the next year, in the next 2 years, we're going to see prices much higher than they are now. So it's probably just a good time to start accumulating at this point. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I will continue to do that. I will continue to update you on Solana. I will continue to bring you meme coins. I will continue to bring you microcaps. I'm covering this fucking market from top to bottom because I want to make sure that we're prepared and positioned to take advantage of a bull market as much as possible. So of course, I hope you guys do appreciate the content. I hope you do find value in it. And of course, I hope you do enjoy it. If you do like the content, if you do like my holiday robe, don't judge me, then make sure that you do let me know down in the comments below, and I hope you do smash that like button so this video gets seen by more people. But with that said, I have a video coming for you later today, so stay tuned for that, and well, I'll see you all next time. Peace out, everybody.